Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Rod Gantos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rad Gantos.
Hello, everybody. It's a little bit after or before the half hour. We've had just a little bit of technical issues.
Challenges, just like you said, life's challenges.
So you come on the show, you tune into the show. It's about life's journey, and guess what? Some days
the challenge getting things all set up.
We're a little bit more challenged than others. So we're on, and
we're going to talk about the challenge.
We're going to talk about the challenges.
Yeah, the challenges
of Paul,
bullying for at-risk for special needs teens.
Speaking of challenges,
yes.
So he always challenges me. Are we going to get off this thing? He always challenges me about how we're going to basically do this little riff in the beginning of the show, and how we're going to tie it to the topic, right?
Exactly.
And usually he lets me make the tie-in, but today he would not.
We're short of time. I had to cut right to it.
Okay, fine. So I'm long-winded. I appreciate that. All right. So since you've had a little bit more time to enjoy the company of these ladies,
yes.
Okay. And we want to talk about challenges. Do you want to introduce them?
I would, because I think it's a fascinating story that needs to be told here. And we've got Janet DeParry, and we've got Izzy Montoya, and they started something called Bead, B-E-A-D, Bead, Kind, Always. And the whole idea is she's trying to get up and move her camera here, and as we're doing all this stuff here. And the idea is we can hold one of these up. I don't know if I can get it in front of the camera here. There it is.
Here. So they were very kind to basically bring us some. And what is the material, ladies? What is this?
Lava beads.
Lava beads. And if I don't know if you can see it in the camera because we're a little bit far away, but most of it is this dark black lava bead. And then there's two small blue lava beads and a small little tassel. Blue.
Right.
And what does that blue symbolize, Janet?
Anti-bullying.
Anti-bullying.
We got to get Janet really close.
Yeah.
Really close.
Okay.
All right, so I'll let Janet tell the story a little more in depth, but the whole idea was that Izzy suffers from cerebral palsy, has difficulty speaking, a beautiful young lady that has a...
She's sort of on camera. You guys see her. You can see her on our feeds. By the way, if anybody's listening to us, which happens on occasion, if you're listening, Paul's like everybody listens to us. Okay, stop undermining the show. So, but people who do listen, yes, and they do. They listen. They don't pay attention to what we say, but they listen. Okay, you can catch us on the Facebook page for OC Talk Radio or for OC Talk Radio, or on the YouTube of OC Talk Radio. We're also on audio on octalkradio.net by clicking the Listen Live button. And then also Janet's feeding it on her Facebook page, on her personal Facebook page.
Correct.
So, and I'm very, very, very impressed that she has so many people liking her stuff.
Oh, my goodness.
Nobody likes my stuff like they
So the story that Janet told me, I'll let her go into more depth because we're short of time here today, is that Izzy, she saw, you knew her mother or something somehow here? You knew the family? Is that it, Janet?
She's my granddaughter.
She's your granddaughter, okay.
Yes,
and
Paul, the investigative reporter.
All right, I didn't know that. And so one day, so you're asking why that she's telling you how Izzy is walking the track alone at school, and you're saying why, and she's saying because she's being bullied. She's being bullied because of her disability, because of her cerebral palsy and the difficulty she has speaking.
How old is Izzy? I mean, how old are you, Izzy?
13.
You're 13. Okay, and was this a new school, or is it just school you've been? Which do we want to say which school?
No, we don't want to identify where.
Right.
So
dang, you take the fun out of everything.
Yes.
Okay, but all right. So this has been something that you have dealt with for a long time.
Yes.
For your whole life, yeah.
Her whole life,
okay.
yeah.
And so, what was the catalyst? Like, what made this happen at now? I mean, how long is
I
this?
think that story, and Janet heard that story, and so we got to do something about this.
Yeah. So, I basically asked why she was walking the track, and her mom said she doesn't want to eat alone. And when she does, sometimes she's bullied because she looks like a normal child.
Sure.
And she just has speech issues.
Yeah.
And so people make fun of her because she doesn't speak like a normal child. And so it really...
Yeah, we can be pretty mean.
Yeah, it disturbed me, and I left and cried, and I'm a big meditator and prayer person, and so during my meditation and prayers that evening, I said, use me as a catalyst to help in this some way. And then all of a sudden, this Bead company and Be Kind Always just popped in within 24 hours.
And the idea is to bring awareness to
Correct.
this, right?
Yes.
The situation that there are many Izzy's in the world out there,
Correct.
and the story I showed, I'll share again real quickly, is my own daughter's journey. My own daughter was born in Mexico in a little village that had no paved roads. Horrible life, brought to America illegally, smuggled in, basically sold as a slave for somebody that needed help, domestic help, and was beat up. And they sent her to school, and she had broken ribs, and so she fell into foster care, and we adopted her. So now we bring her down into South Orange County where we live. She can't speak English, hardly. She doesn't know Spanish very well. She can't read or write Dick or Jane stories. She can't add 2 and 2. She doesn't know anything. She's a wild child. She's been locked in the house and never to school. So she similarly was bullied. She similarly found herself unable to make friends. And because nobody could look past the fact of who she was and where she came from, and that she didn't know anything, nothing.
Can I know I'm going to digress for a second here, and then probably a little bit more political than I wanted to today, but it's fascinating the timing of this.
Yeah.
That we basically discriminate against people for a multitude of reasons, okay, and special needs. And this is something that, just beautiful lady that's sitting next to me here that basically has a speech impediment, basically. She has a speech issue, and it's not like understanding, it's just the ability to speak, right? Vocalize. And today, we basically have a situation where we're revising the immigration policies, and the thing that they kept harping on is that people speak English. People speak English. People speak English. That is a necessity for this, kind of merit-based thing. We are rewarding people based on merit, based on certain things. And yet here
and excluding people if they have disabilities. We don't want anybody with a disability in this country. We only want the perfect people from our world. We're going to cherry pick.
So anyway, I don't mean to segue to that, but I think it's sad that we discriminate.
I'll tell you what
so easily,
even more, and I don't want to delve into Trump because we can easily spend the whole time angrily talking about Trump.
Yes, he can.
But he's making bullying okay again. He bullies his own people. He bullies his own staff.
So let's not talk about specifically that, but there is definitely a climate. Would you all agree that there's a climate in the country now that almost
likes bullying?
It makes it okay.
Yes.
It's powerful to bully.
I'm trying to be kind here.
No. And it's interesting because I have some friends he's a DJ, and he said to me, so what are you going to say? And I said, well, one of my issues right now is how do you teach children not to bully when we have a president that clearly bullies everyone?
Yeah,
right.
Bullies his opponents, his own staff, his everybody.
Attorney General,
other
you name it.
Other ethnicities.
Presidents and things like that. And they said, don't say that. You can't possibly say that on radio. And I was just like...
Absolutely. You know what? I'll even lend a couple of words additional to that. This is a trend that has been perpetuated I don't know whether it was purposely or not, but we have actually had a trend of about over a decade, okay, where it's okay to actually marginalize and discriminate against people for a multitude of things, whether they're legitimate or otherwise. I woke up this morning and I don't like the color red, and somebody is wearing the color red, and I'm going to basically lambast and use social media or whatever to make it okay. Right. And then everybody who thinks I'm an influencer basically comes along for the ride.
Right.
So how do you actually break through that? Because we have an opportunity with kids. We have an opportunity with teens.
First, you have to call it out.
So yes, so let's talk about bullying just in general.
Sure.
Right.
And then let's talk about
which is an epidemic in this country. Even the president's wife, that supposedly is her priority to be
even
anti-bullying.
The people bullying are anti-bullying.
Yeah, I mean that's the irony. That's for her cause, and there's some suspicion she's denied it that her son has.
I think he has some Asperger's or something.
Yeah, he has some.
Sure.
And they deny it, and they try and hide it.
We had a city council member from a city in down south that basically accused everybody who was fighting against the toll road as being bullies. Okay,
Oh,
and
no.
in doing that, he called us names. So I found it very interesting that the
Yeah.
bully basically was calling out people on being bullied.
So it isn't just the president is a symptom. He's not the source of all this. He is a symptom of society that loves to push people around. I'm strong, you're weak. I'm good, you're bad. I'm normal, I'm regular,
Us
you're
and
not.
them.
Us and them.
Us and them.
And I think it's even worse because of social media.
See, Janet's smiling. She didn't realize she was going to get this on the radio show.
Because you can do this anonymously through social media. So let's go back to Izzy's story. In addition to bullying you in person,
Well, but is there an agreed upon definition for bullying? I mean, is there a basic definition that somebody says, okay, this behavior? How do you recognize bullying? I mean, let's just start with that. Because
mean.
It's
It's
being
just
mean.
Just being
It's
mean
being
for no
mean.
reason.
It's being, and that's why it's the name of the company is Bead, Kind Always.
Right.
It's about not being kind to the human beings.
Right.
The
And it's
opposite of what people do. The kindness isn't a virtue we cherish and honor and hold
So
up.
what do you say to somebody? I'm playing devil's advocate here, Janet.
Sure.
Okay. What do you say to somebody? Oh, I was just kidding. Oh, I was just, this was, and it wasn't being, it was just joshing. I was just being mean. Oh, what do you say to that? Because I personally think it's more than just meanness.
Don't you have to just tolerate it? Isn't that what it's about? Life is about tolerating. I mean, if someone says to me, oh, your hair looks like crap. Well, my hair always looks like crap, frankly, and I just blow it off.
We got to get you to talk into the mic here. You're
Oh,
talking around the
okay.
mic.
But you
there.
see that, so we just expanded. So it's not what I was trying to get us to is it's not just being mean, because again, mean in its way is subjective. It's actually having a lack of tolerance. It's not
Total
being
lack of
it's
tolerance.
not being able to allow that thing, that person, that trait that is different from what you perceive to be
Right.
normalized.
Normal.
Right.
Okay, so it's not, and I'll add even more. It's not just an in-passing thing, because people go, oh, well, everybody I'm around basically thinks this way.
Yeah.
No, you take personal accountability, which we have a lack of in this country. It's meanness. It is lack of tolerance. It's actually premeditated thinking. It's not subconscious, because at some point, at some age, you are now responsible for your own behavior. You can't say that, well, this is how I grew up. It's a nature or nurture situation.
Right.
So I agree with your message. Be kind always, but that is an action that you have to consciously.
And you know what
take
the
part
test
in.
is? The test is so simple. How would you feel if you were in
Exactly.
their shoes? You say we were just joking. We were just kidding. So I'd like to hear from Izzy. We're telling her story for her, and I understand you have difficulty speaking, so that's okay. What did you experience, and was it just during school, or did it continue on social media? Because that's what we're hearing. Social media amplifies it and continues it all day long.
They were doing it at school.
At school, all right. And what would they do? Just make fun of the way you talked?
Yes.
They'd imitate you or mock you or whatever or something, or they would just stay away from you?
No, you can't. Bullying me.
Being mean. And so what, did you ever try and talk to them? I know it's difficult to speak. Did you ever try and say, hey, I'm just like you, except I have trouble talking? Did you ever try and communicate, or is that just too hard to do?
Yeah, it's
Too
just
hard.
it's
It's
just
too
too
hard to
hard
do.
for her, and that's one of the issues. Is she looks normal, and it's,
So the expectation.
I hate the
is-
name of look normal. I don't see you and know that you're going to have trouble speaking.
Nobody would ever confuse that you are normal.
correct.
Right.
Paul.
Yeah.
No, I'm not normal.
No, we
I don't wanna
me
be
and I
normal.
already
Yeah, we
said
already know. There's no-
we're
I don't
wanna
totally
be
not
normal.
But let me just say
I
that
don't wanna
maybe
be
Izzy is
normal.
normal, but everybody else in this room, I'm
Is
getting a
not
sense is
normal.
not normal. So
No.
But as with my daughter, you couldn't walk up and instantly know what she was going to sound like. So when she started talking, that's when you discovered that she had a heavy accent and she knew so little about everything here. So when people start talking to you, they hear that you have trouble talking. So how
how do you communicate that frustration,
Yeah.
or do you just internalize it?
I was gonna say to talk.
You talk. You try to communicate.
Yeah.
Okay. So if when people are not understanding, but let's say they have an interest in understanding, right? Do you just continue to vocally communicate with them? Do you try to write it down maybe? Is it something that at some point gets so frustrating that you just give up on it? I'm trying to
She
understand.
gives up.
Yeah.
She gives up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's too
And,
hard
that,
to
and
do.
that's when I'm walking.
It's
I'm walking the
frustrating
track
for
on my
her.
own rather
Yeah.
than being that. Yeah.
It's totally frustrating.
So how do this is a young lady at the age of 13. I mean, you're about as old as mine. I think you and my nephew are actually about the same age. And so what does the school? I mean, this is not something that's just happened overnight. What does the school do? Are the schools prepared to deal with stuff like that?
They are on some level, but not on a level that I would like them to be.
Okay, so
prepared on.
what do they do, and what would you like to see them do?
So you're probably in special needs classes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so the teacher will work with you one-on-one. You get more individualized
Attention.
help.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
And that's what I thought was fantastic when my daughter
Yeah.
got into that. But outside of the classroom, in that little world that you live in, where everybody has a disability, everybody has something that makes them need extra attention, extra help. Outside of that is the problem. When you walk out
Correct.
into the rest
Yes.
of the world.
Yes.
Right, because in that world you must have friends and people accept you, and they all have difficulties and their own problems or something. My daughter said she never knew there were so many difficulties and disabilities in the world. There were people there that were banging their heads against the wall, literally. There were people that couldn't speak. There were people that were simply dyslexic and couldn't read or whatever.
So when you saw Izzy going through this, and you felt the need to do something, and you got the idea of doing Bead Kind Always, what happened after that?
I started the company.
Okay.
Izzy makes these bracelets, hemp bracelets.
Okay.
These are $5, and I make these. We actually have someone helping us now because they were just taking too long.
Yeah.
But that's sweet. So you both actually have. Let me hold both of them up. Let me have the other one too. So you actually both have like individual, bracelets within the company. That's actually
Yeah.
very cool. So here's Grandma's, and here's
Yeah.
Izzy's. That's very cool. Okay, well I'm going to have two
So-
actually.
And
That's
were you
fine.
gifted at doing this? I couldn't
That's very
put a
No.
bunch of beads together. Izzy,
Not
do
at
you
all.
do you know how to make beads?
Well,
Where do you
she
know
does now. We took videos off of the internet, off of
Thank you.
YouTube. And
how to make beads? right.
yeah, no, that's exactly what we did, and it was interesting because I just launched the company really quickly.
When did you launch, Janet?
Probably a month ago.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that quickly? Okay. all
Yeah,
right.
and we've sold over 300 bracelets.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and within that time.
Give
And I
us the-
think
give
all
us-
over the country.
you give the website.
Give the
Yep.
website. Yeah.
The website is Bead, Bead, kindalways.com.
And I think don't you have a GoFundMe account or?
I have a GoFundMe account,
Yeah.
but nobody.
Nobody's
nobody
going to
puts
fund
any
you.
money on it.
how did they find it?
That's a
GoFundMe.
good question. I don't even know.
I mean, is do they go to GoFundMe and then they look for Bead
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
Always?
That's
Okay.
what you do.
Yeah.
So again, there's a GoFundMe account as well. Is it? You might. I don't know if it's not. Thank you, Izzy. If it's not linked to the website, you might want to link it to the website. But there's a GoFundMe account, so you can give to this effort. You could also buy the bracelets. You can find out more information
Yeah.
at Bead Kind Always BEAD.
Yeah.
So B and then emphasize
Right.
beadkindalways.com.
Right.
And what difference has it made?
Well, I think it's just awareness.
It's a
because
awareness
I have,
raising.
Yeah, I have people all over the country, as a matter of fact, purchasing these.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because I'm trying to set up advocacy groups here. My first meeting is next week with different parents. I
Mm-hmm.
think it all stems from the parents, and
And
Well,
what would you,
absolutely, as influences in
Oh,
your children's
yeah.
life.
and what would you
Yeah.
like to see them do? We're coming down to about only 5 or 6
Oh,
minutes
sure.
left.
The advocacy group go into each school,
Mm-hmm.
well, middle and high school.
Middle's the
and-
worst. Yeah.
Oh, yes, and that's what she's in.
Isn't that
Yeah.
the truth? Middle. So can
Yeah,
people
middle.
accept you when you're sick? My grandson's 3. He wouldn't care. He'd play with you just like he'd play with everybody else. If you couldn't talk, he'd
Oh, right.
he'd just
But
run
you
the
see-
toy
but you
around.
see- but you
There's-
see, middle school, I think, is when you're starting to formulate those
middle school's
like
horrible.
beginnings of long-held,
Yeah.
Well,
associations
and because
of things.
here's the truth.
And you're right. The parents are it's very important.
Everybody in middle school, this is what we found out, and this is what I felt when I was in middle school. Everybody feels weird and strange.
Yeah.
And so they try and cover that up by joining a group, by protecting themselves and herd.
Right.
But I feel just as strange as the next kid does.
Yeah.
So I turn it around on you so nobody look at me. That's what they do in middle school because they're not confident in and of themselves, right?
So I think your timing is very interesting. I mean, yes, it's something that Izzy you've been dealing with for a long time.
and I
but-
think Izzy was going to say something and
Yeah,
we cut her off.
sorry.
So go ahead. You were going to say something about being in middle school.
When I first went to middle school,
Right?
they, I couldn't really make friends because some kids are like boring
Yeah.
Right.
and mean.
Was it different when you were in elementary school, when you were in 3rd grade or 2nd grade? Was it easier or different?
Yes.
It was easier. Kids were more accepting at that age.
Yeah, my
I think.
grandson wouldn't care. He's 3. You
Well,
want to
but-
run a truck around the floor, he'd be your best friend.
But
yeah.
it's, again, I think it stems down to, and I think you probably pick up a lot of that at home or wherever your influencers are in your life. But as you get a little older, you start becoming aware of that you should be afraid and worried of things that you don't understand.
Anything
and then
that's
you
different.
start reacting to it in this way. Which
But
is
why?
which,
Where do
which
we
is
teach
really
kids?
which is really
Yeah.
interesting that this isn't something that you are born with.
Right.
That this is something you pick up along the way. So
Right.
what people say, oh,
To
you,
be
you-
mean,
you
yeah.
have to teach people. No, we already know how to not behave.
Correct.
And then we pick up these behavioral patterns somewhere along the
That's
way.
interesting. So, because, yeah, I don't see little kids. My grandson
No.
isn't naturally mean to anybody.
They learn this.
It's a learned
You know,
behavior.
it's
They
like,
learn it.
and I've said this before, just from a fresh perspective, like for creativity, I've been faced by people that say, "Well, how do you be creative?" Right, and that they're in their 40s and 50s, and I'm like,
You already knew.
Well,
You once
if,
knew.
If I know, and I once asked, I said, how many people in this classroom are actually in their 40s and doing an MBA program are consider themselves creative? And like one hand went up, and then I said, well, if I had asked the same question when you guys were like, in
3.
kindergarten or something, how many hands went up? And they themselves knew that, all the hands pretty much in the class. went
Everybody's
up.
creative at kindergarten. You
Right.
think you are. Right.
So,
it's only later
it's
you find out.
It's funny that we are not born being mean.
So what would you, if you have the time right now, you have a voice that those other kids don't. Those other kids aren't on the radio.
And a mic.
And a mic.
camera.
You got power over them right now, the whole
And
world.
Facebook.
And Facebook. Right. What would you like to say to all those kids and their parents who think they're just being funny or who think they don't think of what it does to you. They just think it makes them look cool or funny in front of their friends here. What would you say?
I would say, can you please stop it
Okay.
and be nice to all the kids in the school?
Mm-hmm. I'll go one further. I'll give you one other thing to say to them. I used to say this to my daughter. Imagine if you were me. None of the kids think of walking in your shoes. And I say this is given, I'm sure this has been very difficult for you. I'm not going to diminish this. But the fact that you're here smiling and talking about it, you're stronger than all those kids.
Yeah.
My daughter, I used to say, drop most kids off in Mexico, reverse it, and you can't speak Spanish, and you're beat up, and never have a friend, all these horrible things that happened to her. Total nightmare, and survive.
Yeah.
Okay? And the fact that she was still happy and a good person after all that, she wasn't mean, she wasn't herself, she wasn't mad at the world. You should be mad at the world right now.
Yeah.
Right? You're not.
No.
Doesn't look like you are.
No, I don't get that.
You could be. Many people
but,
are.
But we shouldn't be putting. We really shouldn't. I understand it's a human nature and it's the oldest time, but we really shouldn't be putting people in a position where they have to build a strength based on that kind of experience.
I agree,
We
but
shouldn't, but we have to.
Right. have
So
to.
we have to address
have
it.
to.
We have to raise awareness.
and I'm just trying to say that out of this situation, which has been hard and mean and horrible, I'm seeing a girl that is positive and happy and kind.
Absolutely.
And
That's
that-
what she's surrounded by. You are what you
Okay.
are
Yeah.
surrounded by.
So this, in many ways,
Yeah.
you don't ever diminish your own strength. Most kids, many kids, if they were put in your shoes suddenly, if like in the movies, we could make you change bodies here, right?
That would be cool.
I don't know how they would, if they would
don't know
react
what
as
the-
kind and positive and happy as you are. Many of them would be mad. Many of them would be angry. Many of them would be upset.
So what are your plans? I mean, you just launched this thing a month ago.
Where do you think it goes?
Yeah.
I know I'm asking probably prematurely,
No,
but
no, you're
what
not.
are your plans?
Hopefully, we get an advocate in every single school. I'm hoping it'll be, let's say, in middle school, an 8th grader, who will go out there and organize friends to have lunch with these kids and just befriend them. That's all.
So I'm not going to ask you which school it is, but I'll ask you which school district it's in.
It's in
Orange
Orange County. It's in
County.
Orange County.
But
They live in Orange County.
no, not the county. What school district is it?
Oh, Capo.
It's in Capo Unified.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you this. I know at least one person, I believe two of the people, maybe three even, I'd have to look, that are on the board of trustees for Capo.
Love
Okay.
you.
That'll help.
Right? and well, no, because I think schools are conscious and really want to do
They
the right
are.
thing when it comes to bullying.
Yeah.
But we are talking about bullying, but then we're also talking about a specific part of the community that is special needs.
Right.
They're aware about needs for special needs, but we need to connect the two things together for them in a manner that they can champion.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another hard question with a couple minutes
So
left?
I will do what I can to actually put you guys in touch with them.
Thank you. Appreciate
for
it.
sure.
Let me ask you one
Thank
more
you.
hard question before we have to go. And I debated this with my own daughter. My daughter was able to get into special needs classes, not because of anything she was born with, but because of the life circumstances she had lived for 10 years, right? Others, like you, have a physical impediment, a problem that you need help with, right? Not a problem, a difficulty, okay? And I wondered and agonized over, when I was a kid, special needs kids were separated. Totally different schools, never had to interface with the rest of the kids so they wouldn't be bullied. So nobody would ever laugh at them or make fun of them or whatever. Most of the schools today, the special needs kids are integrated, so they have separate classes, but they're on the same campus. So you do have lunch together.
So
You
what's the
do
question,
see each
Paul?
other. Is that good or bad? Is it good? I can see the benefit of exposing the whole world to this, but I can see it throws you into potential bullying. So would it be better if you were just in a separate campus, or should special needs kids not be locked
part
away?
of the bigger
Right.
student body?
I like to make friends and stay in
The whole community, the whole world. Don't. We had somebody come in and talk about children with Down syndrome and others, and how once they graduate from school, there's nothing to do. So there are community groups out there trying to get them jobs, and there are jobs they can perform. And they had some people here from Trader Joe's, and they use them as baggers. People who have Down syndrome.
I think what you're saying, Paul, is basically should for somebody who is actually dealing with a challenge.
Should we protect you and isolate you, or
should we isolate you, or segregate you, or basically be part of the competition? I think you kind of answer your own question. Nobody
Yes.
wants to be apart from
No.
the world around them.
But we want to protect you. We don't want you to be bullied.
And to be honest, I understand that if that is what they would like, that we basically should honor that. But it's a little bit of a kind of a defeatist attitude when we take that approach. We're going to basically make the problem a little bit less for everybody's comfort level to deal with by putting it out of sight, out of mind. Haven't we grown past that as a race, as a country?
This whole show talks. We have seniors who are locked in right now.
Yeah, shut-in seniors. I mean, it's sort of the same.
That are taken out of society because they stutter or stumble or have Parkinson's.
Yeah, what's the difference between somebody who
Right.
basically has and how society deals with it so differently? You have a beautiful lady right here that has basically
So much to offer.
a challenge with her speaking. And then you have a senior, for example. It could be my mom, could be anybody's
My late mom,
dad, right?
who had
That
Parkinson's,
basically
yeah.
has a stroke or has not cerebral palsy. What's it called? Bell's palsy,
Right.
right? And basically have their faces paralyzed and they have a hard time, or
Right.
somebody has a brain aneurysm and has to be re-educated on how they speak. I mean, I had a gentleman that was very verbose. That was a friend of mine in college. He graduated college. He was engaged actually to who ended up being his wife, but he was in the process of being engaged, and he had a brain aneurysm,
Right.
and he went from this very oratory person to having to learn how to speak again.
Right.
Wow.
And yet we are very sympathetic to people that go through that, but then we are mean and look at people as being different when it's in this situation. It really is a big. I mean, this is a larger topic. I appreciate you guys coming in here and putting both a face and actually a focus on this specifically when it comes to special needs. But I think the bigger issue is just be kind always to each other
And be open.
and be open and
Right.
tolerant.
Right.
Doesn't cost anything.
So from
it
your
may challenge
standpoint,
your comfort level, but it doesn't cost you anything.
You're not looking to. You're not looking for people to protect you and take you out of these situations. You're hoping that you can change those situations so everybody can be part of the conversation.
Yes.
thank you for being part of our conversation.
You know,
here today.
and again, I will repeat. I will do whatever I can to actually try to get you guys in connection, if not be involved even more, with some of the trustees on the school district, because I think, again, it's an issue of spending time with Izzy or somebody that's challenged in her way, and having the student body bringing them in and having them spend that time. Because once you spend that time, that worry, that fear, that the unknown is gone. And at that point, it becomes harder to actually hold on to a discriminatory way.
Once you
of
know
basically
somebody,
looking at people.
all those
once
things disappear.
Yeah, once the known becomes known, the worry, the fear, the basis of needing to protect yourself by discriminating is gone.
And I honor you deeply, as I did my daughter, for talking about this, for willing to come in and talk in a medium where talking is the most important thing we do, right? And that's the most difficult
Very
thing for you to do.
and brave, yes.
So thank you for coming in and doing that. And how do people get in touch with you and help you if they want to support this cause or start this conversation in their school? Give us some websites or phone numbers here.
Websites, beadkindalways.com. You can also email us from that site to info@beadkind.com.
And that's BEAD.
And I will get back to you as soon as possible.
I'd like to see this chapters formed. I'd like to see groups on campus. I'd like to see kids get involved, reach out.
I think he just volunteered, Janet.
You think he did?
I think he just volunteered.
Ah.
So I think he's
Very cool, Paul. Wait, where's Paul? Oh, Paul's card.
Yeah, there's this card right here. He's like a card. He just volunteered. Just put his hand up.
Paul Roberts.
Yep.
There you go. Right.
And I really want to personally thank you guys.
Thank
It's
you.
really awesome. Yeah.
Thank you for allowing us to come on.
My pleasure. I mean, honestly, to be able to have this platform and to be able to use it for something like this, to raise awareness on something like this, you guys are very sweet. Thank you for agreeing to be on the show.
Any final word? The final word, as they say on the show, goes to Izzy.
Izzy, what's your final
word? Because Izzy, I get the feeling people won't listen long enough as you try and explain something here. So we'll give you the mic and whatever time you need. Tell us whatever's on your mind. What would you like to say to people, other than be nice, yes, and be kind?
I would rather say that all the kids need to be themselves and be who they are.
Wow. That's the difficult thing in middle school,
You
to
know-
find out,
you know
because you
what?
don't know who you are.
You can be 50, and that's a very scary thing sometimes.
Oh,
so
boy.
that's really good advice. Thank you guys.
You
for
figured
being
that out already, and you're 13? I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm 61 here.
Yeah, well, we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time
Talk
to
about
deal
my
with
problems.
your challenges.
Oh, good. My phone just died.
Yeah, you guys,
Okay.
you guys are welcome anytime. So
Hey,
to be back,
thanks.
and
Appreciate
we'll
it.
stay in touch.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And join us everybody next week. I might have a guest host filling in for me next week. And Paul's looking at me like, you didn't tell me any of this.
What?
Right? Because I might actually take a little time off and
where you
escape my
going?
challenges. I'm going to go see family in Maryland.
Ah.
For about a week. So anyway, but you can always reach us at the Raad Life, RAAD Life, on Facebook. You can always email me at raad_Gantus, GHANTOUS @gmail.com, or call me at 949-212-8299. Thank you, ladies, and
Thank
thank you,
you.
Paul,
Thank you.
for sharing also personally. I don't thank him enough for bringing his own personal stories.
Well, so many of
into
these touch me
He
in
is
my
the
own way.
coolest
yeah.
guy.
He
I
is.
told you. I
I'm
met
not
this
cool.
He's pretty
Wow.
cool. If I can only just get him out of cargo pants. He'll be okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You have been listening to the Raad Life radio show with your host and age explorer, Rad Gantos, brought to you on the one and only OCTalkRadio.net. Join us again next week as we continue our journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older.